9 million terrorists in the world, and I gotta kill the one with smaller feet than my sister?
I only have one thing to say to this.
Mm-hmm.
Happy hunting, Hans. Yippee-ki-yay, dude.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
The moment of heart-shaped feeling, spirit is something.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 16 of the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast. This is Justin.
And I'm Joey.
In this episode, we're going to go shaken, not stirred, when we dive into the OG Bod film from the Criterion Laserdisc. God, I screwed it up again. In this episode, we're going to go shaken, not stirred, when we dive into one of the OG Bond films, which was actually out on Criterion Laserdisc once upon a time, as we discuss From Russia with Love from 1963, plus the story of a stubborn old man and his new tech toy that's sure to steal your heart.
I see what you did there, Justin. And just a heads up, we do discuss our full thoughts on these films. So if you've not seen a movie, skip ahead to avoid any spoilers. Or, go watch the movies and come back.
And if you want to be a part of the Movie Club cast, make sure to hit subscribe, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you, hear about your thoughts on these movies, and movie talk is universal, which we're finding out very quickly. So come join the conversation.
Please do.
How's it been, friend?
It's been all right, man. Just, getting acclimated to the new job. Spur of the moment episode last night. Had a couple friends in over the weekend, and then a lot of Elden Ring. So if anybody who follows me on Letterboxd is like, why didn't Joey watching movies? I mean, there was some stress and stuff in the earlier part of the year, but no, now it's Elden Ring that's eating up a lot of my free time.
That's kind of like Game of Thrones.
Well, George R.R. Martin did help a little bit on the story, but it is the newest game from Software and Miyazaki, so it doesn't have the word Souls in it. It's not Dark Souls 1, 2, or 3, but it is that style of game. What they call a Soulsborne. Mm-hmm. And it is freaking fantastic, and I love it. I think it's my favorite of the series. Currently, played a little bit more in C, but right now it's topped out over Bloodborne as my favorite. They've made some life improvements within the game. Like you got a horse, so it's an open world game instead of a kind of open world game. It's like a humongous open world game. So they added this horse or mount thing that you can ride and get you everywhere pretty quickly. You can fast travel from anywhere, not just at bonfires. You can crouch now to do stealth. You can jump. And then I think the biggest change of life improvement was outside a lot of the bosses, they have a bonfire or your save point, or they have what they call a Stake of Marika. So you can respawn there and you don't have to run back through the whole dungeon or, make this long run to get back to the boss fight and waste a lot of your resources. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, no, it's hella fun. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Has there been any games before this in this story, or is this the first one?
This is the first one. So it's like I said, it's not connected to the other the big FromSoft games, which is the three Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Sekiro, or Bloodborne. But like I said, it's the same style of game. There's nods to some of the other games. If you're a veteran of those games, you recognize stuff in some of the patterns and all of that kind of stuff. It's a hella fun game.
I did some video gaming too. I was playing the original Mega Man.
Oh snap, son!
Yeah, I got the disc for PS4 a couple of years ago, and I just like busted it out for the kiddo because kids these days just don't understand how hard video games actually used to be. How you actually used to like go insane playing them, and I was never all that good at Mega Man. I thought the music was fantastic. It's cool level design, but hard as shit. But yeah, this disc happens to have like save. You can save anywhere, and you can actually rewind. So
Yep.
it's been kind of cool. Yeah, I'm actually pounding my way through that game and the first part of the Dr. Wily section, which first time I've ever played those levels. But yeah, looking forward to hopefully playing through the whole franchise at some point. Oh, we were talking about for the podcast, we both did podcast yesterday. So back-to-back pods.
Yeah. Yours actually just hit as we went to start recording. As we saw when we went onto YouTube to find some information out about ourselves real quick. Mine, I have not had a chance to even edit, and for me it was a longer episode. It was almost an hour and a half. So it'll probably hopefully it'll be out by this weekend or early next week. So today's the 21st. Hopefully it'll be out around the 28th to the 30th, somewhere in that ballpark, maybe sooner, but that's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah, I talked with Ben Hibbard, which definitely recommend checking out the episode. Had a good time talking with him. So it's just amazing, like how much I was relating to him on certain things and other things not so much. He's a big Edgar Wright fan, so we had a fun discussion there. But yeah, we went about 2.5 hours, and it just got my interview style is just a little changed up a little bit, where I'm not like always pressing forward. I'm just kind of letting it like play itself out a little bit. Letting it play itself out naturally, which, it obviously avoids a lot of those awkward cutoff moments. But, I invited them on my show to talk about movies, so might as well let them talk to their heart's content. So,
Yeah, I feel you with that. I think that's kind of what happened on my Ninja 3 episode for Schlock Talk, and then for this episode, which will be on the King of Fighters. Where the person just had a ton to say about the subject matter and other stuff. And it was a friend of mine I actually hadn't seen in person in like over a year, just due to, life and Rona and all of that. So we had a great time watching the movie, even though the movie was bad. But, I mean, that's the nature of the beast on that show. And we had a great time talking about the movie, and I hope that comes through when I finally do get it out for everybody to listen to. So.
But we are in the busy spring season now. So, my movies watching is like slowed down a bunch. So we got the baseball going on. We got karate going on. We got soccer going on. Yeah. So constantly going on. But, I mean, like last week, I think I might have written like 2 reviews all week. And, it's not a bad thing, I guess. Kind of reassessing how things are. I mean, I wish I could watch more movies, but sometimes you just take a little longer with them, and it's what it is.
I mean, yeah, no, I feel you. Like I said, being like, I thought when I was out of work there for almost a month, I'm like, man, I'm gonna bang out a lot of movies. But then there's a lot of times where I was just like, I don't have the mental energy, like, because I'm so worried to sit there and focus on a movie, and I don't want to watch a movie, and because I was in a shit mood, let that kind of affect what I was doing. So I just ended up binging like trashy television, like Ink Master, which I love, but it's not good. It's not good at all. So, I mean, that, 12 1-hour episodes a season. And it's like, well, there's a day or 2 days. And that could, that's one season could have been 4 or 5 movies, but it is what it is. So
in a lot of cases, it's like I'm just hanging around the house and the wife's at work, and The kiddos are looking for stuff to do, so yeah, do a little video gaming with them, do a little reading, be a dad or whatever. So yeah, got a fun trip coming up. Got Tanner's birthday's coming up, so we're taking him to the Great Wolf Lodge in Charlotte, and afterwards, it's a secret, we're going to Carowinds. So should be a pretty good trip coming up here in early April.
Nice. If while you're in Charlotte, if you're looking for some good eats,
Okay.
there's a place called, I don't know how much the kids would like it, but it's a place called Blackow. It is a like Japanese sushi burger joint, and it's fantastic. If you want to get some ice cream, there's a place called Jenny's. Very good. There's some other places. One of my favorites up there is a place called Moosehead, but probably don't want to take your kids there. It's kind of like a dive bar and an old Pizza Hut. But they have fucking fantastic blackened wings, some of the best wings I've ever had. And they also, even though it's not affiliated with them, they found from up north a beer called Moosehead, which they have like as their signature beer, even though they don't make it, it's not associated with them. It was just a lucky coincidence. So there's all sorts of crazy stuff up there. I mean, obviously there's like a Dave and Buster's and just all sorts of cool stuff up there. So I hope you guys have a good time.
Yeah, I hope so. All right, you ready to get into some movie trivia?
Yeah, baby, let's go.
All right, do you want to go back and forth, or how do you want to do it?
You decide, whatever you want.
Okay, let's just go straight through.
All right.
Now, I recall you saying that you hadn't seen that many Bond films, so I kept this pretty vanilla. So hopefully I'm not kicking myself.
It's all good, man. No worries.
Whom does James Bond work for?
MI6.
That's right. British intelligence. You would probably know the answer to this better than I did, but I obviously have the answer in front of me. But how does James Bond kill Dr. No?
Shit, I just watched that. I want to say it was like with a piece of fruit or something. But
this says that he suffocated him with a mound of guano, which that's bat poop, right?
Yeah, guano is bat poop. I don't remember that, but that sounds right. The end of these movies get a little wonky. I'm telling you, I was in that movie for Ursula Andress.
All right. Now, do you know who authored the James Bond books?
Ian Fleming.
That's right. Yeah, you've probably seen that flash up on screen quite a bit lately.
Yep.
Which studio produced almost the entirety of the Bond films?
MGM.
That's an American one. So let's look for an English studio.
It did not have the fucking lion on the front of it just now when I watched that movie?
Oh, I see what you're getting at. Let's see which studio produced almost entire. Okay. Well, the answer is Pinewood, where I know they shot them all. So, okay. Yeah, you're right. I think about MGM being involved. Maybe like MGM was like a distributor. I don't know. That's an interesting question. Maybe I messed up there. All right, and the last one is, what car did James Bond have in the movie Goldfinger?
I mean, it's got to be an Aston Martin, right?
That's right. Right.
Don't ask me which version, but I mean, Goldfinger I haven't seen, but
yeah. So yeah, you could just general Bond trivia. You're pretty savvy. I mean, you have been on this earth about 30 plus years, so I guess those things come to mind.
Right. Right. You actually had a couple extra questions, so let me, on the quick, see if I can at least find something to go with to make it a little more even. That's a good question.
Any theming to your questions this time?
Mostly 90s. I have 3 questions at this point. 2 of them are 90s, and one of them is not. All right, we'll just go with this one because I like this movie.
Okay.
And so I'll have 4 questions, and I'll start with this one. What is the name of the actress who plays the young killer in Leon the Professional?
Oh, that's Natalie Portman.
Yes, that was under the hard 90s trivia questions on this place that I'm at. I just want to point that out. All right, here's the other ones.
Well, if you run into actors' names. Plus, I
guess
just,
that's
just
true.
reviewed a movie with Natalie Portman.
Okay. According to Letterboxd, how many acting credits does Sean Connery have?
60?
You are a little more than halfway there, fam.
So, like 100?
110.
Wow, that's a lot. That's
Yep.
a lot of movies.
All right. Which 1992 movie directed by John G. Avildsen and starring Morgan Freeman and Daniel Craig is based on Bryce Courtney's 1989 novel of the same name?
Oh
You
my.
get this, I'll be surprised. I only put it in there because it had Daniel Craig and, tie in.
And what, you said it was 92?
Yep, 92 movie with Morgan Freeman and Daniel Craig. I'd never heard of this. I will quantify that.
Nothing's coming to mind, so just hit me.
The Power of One?
Yeah, I've never gotten that.
No, but I didn't know Daniel Craig was making movies in 1992, so it kind of hit me. All right. What 2 James Bond movies were released in the 90s?
That would be GoldenEye and Tomorrow Never Dies.
That is correct. 95 and 97, respectfully.
My first 2 Bond films, I think.
I think technically those were also my first 2 Bond films, and then there was one in 2000 or 2001 or something.
The World's Not Enough.
Yeah, because
And
it was
then-
two, and then it was 06.
Die Another Day.
Die Another Day. Yeah,
Oh, he was only in 4.
I guess he was only in 4 because was it Die Another Day had
Halle Berry.
Halle Berry, and then the other one had the
Super
Madonna
goofy.
song.
I know The World's Not Enough. Diane. What's her name? The one that used to be with Charlie Sheen. Denise Richards.
Denise Richards, yeah.
Yeah, I was all excited for her being the Bond girl, and that was kind of her like, yeah, I'm not as interesting on screen anymore at that point.
Yeah, I got you. And then after that, we went to Daniel Craig, and Bond films changed and got a lot better.
Different.
Different. I
Let's
stand
talk-
by what I said. I stand by what I said.
We'll talk more about what we've been watching lately and the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay. Did I do it wrong? Best foreign language feature, and it's a family movie, right?
Dude, what happened? Oh, okay. Never mind. They just separated and it was weird. Okay. I have the Guys rom-com, one of the rom-coms, and some 90s spice.
Oh. All right, well, let's hear about Breakfast at Tiffany's.
You, sir, are correct. That is one of the rom-coms. I was actually struggling with a little catchy title because I wanted to make like a Kanye reference because I mean I'm not saying that Audrey Hepburn's character was a gold digger in that movie, but
She's carrying
You know
around
the
a
rest.
gold shovel.
but also Kanye's, like terrorizing his ex-wife, and that's not cool. So I didn't want to like do that. But that's the whole movie. She's a gold digger until she's not. But she's still charming. It's still cute if you also look aside the whitewashing, or it's not even white. I mean, just the racist. I guess Asian face is the right word. I'm not even sure.
Mickey
but-
Rooney thing.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's a classic for a reason. I mean, it's got a '90s song about it, kind of. So,
I was so ashamed the other week when I went to the dentist because strange story. I ended up with a slightly younger dental hygienist, and we're just talking, and all of a sudden I find out like she's like really into like classic films and like which one was her favorite? One of these Audrey movies. It was the one
Sabrina,
in Roman Holiday.
Roman Holiday. Ooh, that's really good.
So I told her I was going to watch it, and I didn't. So I definitely have to watch it soon. So I'll be ready for my next appointment in a couple months.
Carl and I watched it not that long ago. It's really good. I really like that movie.
I'll call that. Okay. Which one you want to hear about?
Let's go with a family movie.
It's a family movie. Okay, so we so all the Pixar movies are dropping on that all D plus nowadays. Because so my reasoning here is so like Pixar is obviously a top tier studio, always delivers good movies. My theory is they're dropping those things straight to D plus. First of all, to make sure as many subscribers get on there as possible, but then like it's like an automatic like really good movie studio that's like pumping movies into there a couple times a year. So it makes sense to me. I don't mind it being on D plus. Saves me $80. I spent $80 to go see Uncharted, Joey. $80, and I really wish I could have that money back because that was forgettable as shit.
Oh, one, it is a video game movie, so that's not that shocking, and that is sad because I do like Tom Holland. I do think Marky Mark was a questionable casting choice, other than I guess he brings name power. But as far as the movies being on D plus off the cut, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, these are kids geared towards family and children, and like you said, it costs you $80, maybe $100 or more for you and your 3 kids and your wife to go to a movie.
We went to see the Batman, and we saw that for, I think we spent $45 getting us all tickets and 1 drink. It's because we skinnied down the spending a little bit the next time. But gosh, it's expensive to go to the movies. But
yeah, and
depending on the movie.
But like for you to spend $30 to rent one when it drops on D plus?
Well, they don't do the premium access anymore. The Pixar movies are just available.
Okay, but even if it was $30,
yeah, that's still worth it.
That's hella worth it. You can go to the Dollar Tree and buy candy and fucking popcorn and soda, and you can pause the movie. You can have subtitles on the movie. Like, yeah, no, it's totally worth it. Like, I thought it was worth it when I did Cruella last year, and me and one of my friends, we split the money. We each spent $15. And that's the same thing to go to the movie theater, except for now we're at our home and all the other benefits. So yeah, no, I think it's worth it.
So anyways, so I saw Turning Red, this kind of anime-inspired Pixar movie. It's from the same director that did Bao a few years ago. Did you ever see that short Pixar did about the lady that makes dumplings and like one of the dumplings becomes her child?
I did not.
What's really interesting about this movie is it's kind of geared towards preteens. So there's a lot about like puberty in there and like learning to respect your parents in there. And I mean, at the end of the day, it has a big red, giant, fluffy red panda. So of course all the kiddos are going to love that and think that's amazing. But there was some pretty edgy stuff in there for, just a general family film. There's some super kind of icky moments where like the mom shows up at her school and is like, "You forgot your pads," and kind of awkward stuff like that.
So did your wife watch that movie with you, or was it just you and your 3 sons?
It was just me and the kiddos, but they rewatched it as we were like making dinner one night, and she looked at me and she's like, "This doesn't sound like the most appropriate movie for them. Like, it's cute, but you're not wrong."
Well, no, the reason that I asked was because that from I haven't seen it, but I mean there's a lot of stuff.
Don't tight.
Thank you. So I get for like trying to dust off my desk while you were talking. I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet where it is dealing with menstruation and puberty and that kind of stuff, and discussion. A lot of people are upset about it, and whether it's right or wrong, that kind of thing. But so I was just curious, like how your boys would have reacted.
No, it totally went over their head, as I would suspect it would. I mean, most more mature content that I show them does go over their head, but
which does happen a lot. Like you think about some of the movies we watched when we were kids, and then we watched them as adults, and we were like, "Holy shit, why were we watching that?" So I think kids are smart, but sometimes when they just don't know about something, because your oldest is what, 10, right?
Yeah.
So if he rewatches this movie probably in 2 or 3 years, it might make a little bit more sense. But also, if you had a daughter, it probably would also make a lot more sense.
It's funny that he just mentioned to me today, since he's in 4th grade, and he said all the girls in his class have like the boy band from the movie, like some like stuff like on their book bags of this boy band. I think it's called like For Life or something. So yeah, quite popular. On that note, the whole Encanto, like apparently, so that was the last Disney movie that came out right before the holidays, and yeah, that. Have you heard of When We Don't Talk About Bruno, that song?
I just know that movie is still crazy popular. I still see people posting about it. Like their kids just watching it all the time.
Yeah.
Still, so.
It's very catchy music. I don't see why that's the most popular song. I happen to like another song in there, but I think all the music in there is really catchy. But yeah, Turning Red, definitely recommend it. Just a little edgier than I would have suspected. I just wish like they would fix the rating system. Like most of these movies are G, and this one was obviously PG, and it should have been like PG for, obviously you wouldn't want to put like sexual awakenings, but for puberty-oriented content or something, just to kind of give you a heads up.
Preteen life situations or something. I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Like I think that's hard to say, because like I would have no problem with that being rated G for general audiences. I don't think that makes. I don't think that's anything that needs to not be discussed. I think the more it's discussed, especially amongst males, is probably a good thing overall, but that's a whole nother topic of conversation.
And I'm totally there with you. Like, I don't mind my kids seeing it. It's just, it would have been nice to just have a little bit of like that flash up as part of the rating,
I got it. I guess the other side of that is into like today's world where we know so much about everything. Especially like you and I, where we follow a lot of movie stuff. Like, I know what the movie's about and have never seen it. Like, I couldn't tell you the ins and outs, obviously, but I knew what it's about, having never even seen it or tried to find out information about it. So I guess maybe that, that thought is also that everyone will know. I don't know. That's hard to say.
Anywho. So, Sarah Marshall, speaking of edgy content.
Yeah. So you've been keeping up with my letterbox lately. Guys Rom-Com is that. To be fair, I haven't watched a lot, so it's kind of really easy to discern.
Just the way you worded these little clues.
Yeah, I mean, I was also rushing, because for once I was the one not prepared on time. But yeah, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which we did an episode on back in season 2.
That sounds right.
Yeah, one of our
Fight
faves.
Club.
Or was it with Fight Club?
I think so.
Yeah, because it was with one of our faves. Yeah, it sounds right. Sarah Marshall and Fight Club. So actually, I watched both these movies on the same night. I went and hung out, and with a female friend. And well, that's all. We decided to just be friends, kind of thing. But she had never seen Breakfast at Tiffany's and was like, "Oh, it's a all-time classic, blah blah blah." And then I brought some other movies to pick from, and that's what we ended up watching on the second one. I mean, it has freaking Marshall from How I Met Your Mother in it. It has Mila Kunis and Kristen Bell. And if you've watched this podcast, you know how I feel about Mila Kunis and Kristen Bell. I love both of them. So, and I've seen it so many times, but it just makes me happy. But I do think it is kind of like, like a guy rom-com. Like it's definitely very comedic, and it's got the love story, and the love story is very much the central figure of the plot, but it's definitely raunchy and geared more towards guys than something like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days or Breakfast at Tiffany's, Roman Holiday, one of your more traditional rom-coms kind of thing.
Cool, cool.
All right. What is your best foreign language feature?
Okay, which it's pretty much default that on Drive My Car is going to be probably, and that's the Japanese film from this year. It's actually nominated for Best Picture. I hadn't even heard of it until I saw the nominations come out. But yeah, I dove into this 3 hour slow burn of a Japanese movie, and it took a long time. Like, it's kind of interesting because there's like a whole prologue to this movie, and you don't even know it's a prologue until about 40 minutes in, whenever they finally start rolling the credits. It's a really strange one because it's all about like the main character is like a playwright who's like mourning the death of his wife and trying to move on. He moves to Hiroshima of all places, so kind of a grave city in itself in its essence. So there's a lot of stuff in there about like guilt of being like a survivor, and yeah, it all kind of comes together at the end and makes its themes be known. My notification's going nuts on my phone here. So yeah, I enjoyed how it came together at the very end. It just took hella long to get there, but yeah, glad I checked out Drive My Car. It's one of these like people a couple years ago were like, oh man, Portrait Lady on Fire is like the greatest film ever, and Burning, it's the greatest film ever. It's such a slow burn. I'm a cinephile. I love this, and this is kind of in the same camp. And I think I like this one more than those two, just because it does come together nice and tidy at the end. It was fun to write about it. It took me a couple days to get through it. Drive My Car.
I do have to ask you the important question.
Okay.
Since this is the best foreign language feature,
Probably.
did you watch it in dubs or subs?
There wasn't a dubs option. I did check though, especially for a slow burn like this.
All right. So my last one is some 90s spice, which I felt was only appropriate since we are going to be transitioning into some 90s stuff later.
So you wanted to talk about Cruel Intentions over Parasite?
I thought I talked about Parasite.
Not on this show.
I thought I talked about it on the last episode.
Did you?
I thought so.
Maybe you did.
I thought I mentioned because I remember me talking about it to you. And then how like I put it basically tied with Marriage Story for number one for the year.
Okay,
so far.
Yeah, that is ringing a bell. Okay,
yeah.
Proceed.
Because then I probably would not have talked about Breakfast at Tiffany's. I would have been
Okay.
But first off, fuck off trying to make that negative comment about Cruel Intentions. That movie is fucking 90s gold.
5 stars. Proceed.
Look, I will walk up out of this motherfucker right now. Don't test me. All right. I know. First of all, some of that, to be fair, is strictly nostalgia. That movie came out. I was 14. I was obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Sarah Michelle Gellar is out of type, completely brown hair, playing this sexually provocative bitch and makes out with Selma Blair. Like, that's burned in my head since I was 14 years old. I don't know what you want from me.
Hey, yeah.
So I had a friend, and she comes over. It's Jenna. She's been on a couple of my Schlock Talk episodes, and we try to go through and give her some movie education. And we've done like 10 Things I Hate About You, and some other stuff from the 90s. And so we were looking for something to watch, and she didn't want, I've been trying to take it easy on her since we kind of sprung Inside on her back in October. So I was like, we'll watch Cruel Intentions. You'll like it. And of course she did. But I mean, there's so much star power in it. I mean, like Selma Blair, or like Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Philippe, Reese Witherspoon. Like there's just all this star power. Joseph, oh, I'm not. I was about to say Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and that is incorrect. Um, Pacey, Joshua Jackson. So there's a lot of like 90 star power in there, and it is just it's romantic, dark dramedy, I guess is the best way to say it. I don't know, but it's if you're from that time period, you probably saw it and you probably either loved it or you hated it. And if you haven't, you should watch it because it is fantastic. Totally 5 stars, right up there with Parasite.
That's the kind of show this is.
Look, that is a completely different kind of 5-star rating. Like, look, there are movies that get 5 stars for their technical aptitude and their storytelling and stuff, like Parasite. And then there's movies that get 5 stars because Sarah Michelle Gellar makes out with Selma Blair. Yeah, because I fucking said so. You're the man who gave what? Dumb and Dumber like 4 or 4.5 stars. I don't want to hear shit
but that's
from
not
you about my ratings.
That's a classic, and that's not 5 stars. But I digress.
That movie is a classic piece of shit. Yes.
You don't like Dumb and Dumber? Oh.
I did, but I don't anymore. I can't do it. I don't want to hear the most annoying sound in the world. I don't want to see the sheepdog car.
Wow, we are on the same wavelength tonight. I was thinking that same thing, the annoying sound thing.
So, all right. So, what did you do wrong?
Okay, so I watched Sin City for the second time, but I watched the extended cut, which puts all of the segments into their own short film. So I didn't realize until after I was done and was reading back through Wikipedia how 2 of the stories were supposed to be bookended, because it just doesn't play out like that in the extended cut because they're all separated. So that was very strange.
So in the extended cut, so each thing, instead of it being like a winding Tarantino-esque story, each character art is just...
It would stop and it would do end credits, and then it would start the next story.
Oh my God.
Which was especially terrible for the whole... Not that Josh Hartnett needed any favors being terrible, but yeah, that was super awkward and didn't work. But everything else about it was great. Gosh, can you believe that's Mickey Rooney in that movie? Not Mickey.
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke. Yeah, I always get that wrong.
Dude, you want to talk about another movie loaded with star power? That movie has so many people.
Understanding noir a lot more, it's kind of neat to see this real stylized with this Robert Rodriguez grit noir style movie. I'll go ahead.
I was going to say, and go figure, I fucking love this movie. It's noir. It's Robert Rodriguez with a guest scene directed by Quentin Tarantino. What the fuck? Oh, and it came out at peak Jessica Albanus. And even with Ava Green being naked the whole runtime of Sin City 2, this movie is so much better than Sin City 2. Sin City 2 was so disappointing, but that's neither here nor there.
Bummer. But yeah, great lead protagonists in the 3 main stories there. And yeah, I was really impressed with Sin City, seeing all those noir references all jammed into that fun little sweet stylistic bloody package. So Sin City.
I have to watch that again soon. I fucking love that movie.
All right, let's get into our feature movie, which is From Russia with Love. And this came out of my Criterion you've never seen before, I believe.
Yes.
So cool.
It was one I haven't seen before, caveated with hopefully one you hadn't seen before. So I went off of your Criterion list as you suggested, and so you had seen this before, but it had been a long time.
Oh yeah, way back in high school. So yeah, I didn't remember anything about it. So should be good stuff here. It came out in 1963. It's a British spy film, the second in the James Bond series, produced by Eon Productions. So we have Pinewood Studios, we have MGM and Eon, as well as Sean Connery's second role as MI6's agent, James Bond. It was directed by Terrence Young and was based on Ian Fleming's 1957 novel of the same name. In the film, Bond is sent to assist in the defection of Soviet consulate clerk Tatiana Romanova.
Renova, probably, or Romanova.
Romanova, like that.
Maybe.
In Turkey, where Spectre plans to avenge Bond's killing of Dr. No. So I haven't seen Dr. No in forever, so I really don't have that context. But
I mean, I watched it right after we did the 10th Victim for Cinematic Underdogs, and so I got the back-to-back movies with Ursula Andress in it, because I couldn't watch this one without watching that one. To be fair,
yeah, I need to go back and rewatch it myself. I want to go back there and watch all of them. My memory of this was that it all was kind of dull and it took place on a train, but that's not what this movie is at all, much to my relief. And it's kind of your prototypical like ideal Bond movie with everything it has in it that like carried on through the whole franchise. So that's really impressive. I mean, right from that opening, where the guy walks out and does the gunshot and the blood comes down and then the barrel, like, the prototypical James Bond opening. So what was your experience like watching this one?
So, like, I hate that so much of my moods affect movies, but like we got out of work over an hour late today, or right at an hour late, because of just some of the stupidest things we have to do because of security things. And this was silly. Didn't have anything that needed to be with security, but it cost us like 45 minutes. So I was just kind of annoyed. Then I was like, and then I was worried about rushing to try to get started with this. So, but it is what it is. I mean, there was some good action. I definitely noticed some things that had influence on some stuff from my childhood. The first one that comes to mind is Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget.
Okay.
I mean, he sits there with the cat, yeah. And then obviously Austin Powers. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, yeah.
Cool.
But I definitely see what you're getting at with like where you see the Bond formula. I mean, it was kind of in Dr. No, but I think this is where they just nailed it down. Mm-hmm. So
I really enjoyed how we don't see Bond for like the first 25, 30 minutes of the movie. It's like one of the first instances I can think of where it's not like a big action scene at the beginning. It's all the assassin that one assassin like getting the one guy, and so yeah, the fact that Bond's gonna be a target is established right there in the opening scene, and I really like the opening titles. Like nowadays it's like just a CGI fest, but like this was just basically like these lights shining on like dancers and stuff, and it was very fitting for a Bond film, very sensual. I mean, you had like these busts shaking and booty shaking and these hip looking James Bond letters, and I thought it was quite a pretty effective opening.
I mean, yeah, no, the Bond opening is always good. Especially now when they've got such great music, where you like the last couple have been Adele and Billie Eilish, and they've just had these great opening songs. So yeah, no, their openings are always pretty fantastic.
But just this, just find it so refreshing how this had like. I mean, I enjoy the kaleidoscope effect that a lot of the newer ones have with all their CGI, but just to keep it real simple and have these colorful lights on girls, it's just like really, really solid.
I mean, yeah, girls are definitely one of the staples of Bond movies, but yeah, it's I mean, anything like practical effects. I mean, when you see them and they're done well, they always are good. It doesn't matter how late it, how much longer it is afterwards. So.
Do you know how to play chess?
I do know how to play chess. It has been a while, but I definitely used to play a lot in like middle school and early in high school.
If we ever have an Average Joe's chess tournament. We definitely need one of those giant boards where somebody needs a giant stick in order to move the pieces.
Oh man, that was really cool.
Enjoyed that. Did you notice that whenever the chess master guy was summoned by Spectre,
Yep,
the little
like
note had a little.
You were needed immediately. Yep, I caught the Spectre symbol. That was really sly.
Yeah, I caught that back on a flip through. So yeah, I just love how these films, like, they introduce Spectre, they get it up, they use it to its potential. Where as like the Daniel Craig ones, it was almost like a tease the whole time about Spectre. So.
And I think when I talked about in the last episode when I was talking about the swan song of watching the last James Bond movie, where like the bad guy in this one, it was like the after effect of all of the things that Blofeld had done, and it really felt like that needed to be the bad guy in the last movie with the way the stuff was built up. Mm-hmm. And I mean, obviously, Christoph Waltz he's just a better villain than Remy. Like, no offense to Remy Malik, but I mean, he's not Christoph Waltz. Christoph Waltz is just what he does. Like, so
you definitely see the Austin Powers influence, or what Austin Powers was influenced there, when you get the two henchmen there and Blofeld's like playing with the buttons or whatever, like, what does the blend number 3 and so forth. So yeah, you can definitely tell that Austin Powers was inspired by like the original Bond films for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have sharks with freaking laser beams on their head or very agitated sea bass, but he did have the fighting fish. So,
oh yeah, the little goldfish chewing on each other. And then we get to a little walk through like the Spectre training facility. That was pretty badass. And then they agreed that Hitman was the right guy for the job whenever she hit him with the brass knuckles in the chest, or in the stomach, and he's just like, nope, I'm good. And then he goes back to him and his oiled up girl there laying around while everyone else is training.
She was very jiggly, like very jiggly.
All right, so moving on with the plot here, Spectre manipulates that Russian girl into. I'm a little fuzzy on the plot, but all I know is like she operates the cipher machine that the Russians have, and so like Spectre like manipulates like Bond running into her. Is that kind of what you were getting?
Oh yeah. So the Russian lady, she had been the head of like the Russian consulate, and she defected to Spectre, but because of the dictatorship, that they had in the Russia or the USSR, whatever you want to call it, Soviet Union, they kept it under wraps, so not very many people knew that. So she was able to just keep acting like she was that position, and she played on that girl's loyalty to Mother Russia to go and do this mission, and obviously threatened her, like, if you don't do this mission, I'll kill you. So that's where that was for that part of the plot. So it was we've got this perfect plan, and the British will know it's a trap, but they'll never be able to resist, and they'll send Bond, and we'll get revenge for him killing Dr. No, and we'll also use the girl because, well, we know Bond likes his ladies, kind of thing. So
kudos, you wrapped that plot up nicely for me. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I remember being a little disappointed the first time I saw this in high school, because you guys know I'm a sucker for Russian stuff, and there's not a whole lot in here. There might be like a sign that says like the USSR like consulate in Turkey or Istanbul or whatever, but yeah, the main Russian thing is just the girl, because she's from Russia, so she's from Russia,
and she's from Russia with love.
Yeah,
roll credits.
Love.
Yeah.
And then, after the 25, 30 minutes, we finally get to Bond. And, of course, he's getting frisky with a nice-looking brunette there in a boat with some wine. So, of course.
Oh, yeah. Just an old case.
Good old Q. We get to see him. And given the perfect gadgets for this little expedition with the exploding briefcase, which... it was kind of exciting when that came into play, because I'm like, oh, that's like the perfect thing to use now. And then the knife. So,
I
minimal
love
on gadgets, but effective.
I love how he flirts with like Moneypenny. He's like, oh, Money Penny, darling, I've never even looked at another woman. After, she called him and was like, "Oh, your old case sounds very interesting." So that's just that. Are they? Have they? Are they? What's happening there? They had good chemistry.
I thought they did a good job of shooting Istanbul throughout this movie. A lot of nice scenery of the city, and then he pals up with that guy, and there's a lot of like Indiana Jones kind of things that Jones like probably might have borrowed from here. So like you have like like the guy he pals up with whenever he goes to that one country or Tunisia in Raiders. Sully
I
or Sol or
it has been a long, long time since I've seen any of the indie movies,
okay.
and the only one that I think I've actually seen more than once is the one with Sean Connery. So the Last Crusade, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I think I've seen that one two or three times, and all the other ones I've seen once. And that's just the three because they've never made a fourth one. Um,
Sala. Okay. So they're being kind of like a local who's like savvy on what's going on. I thought was very similar to kind of that Indiana Jones Sala relationship, but just Bond has it with the guy he meets in this one. Any idea what a medium sweet coffee is?
no earthly clue. I was very confused by that.
Apparently, okay, so it has to be ground coffee. There has to be some maple syrup in there, 2 to 3 healthy teaspoons of it, and then it's served in a small, long-handled pot with a pouring lip called a sezvi. So now you know. That is a Turkish medium sweet coffee. Sounds all right.
Interesting. And I wondered because he said medium sweet there, and then later on he's like ordering room service for breakfast for the next morning, and he says that he wants a coffee like very black
Yep.
or extra black or something like that, which is clearly a lot different than even if you don't know what medium sweet is. I mean, I just thought it was like, okay, medium sweet is an exact amount of milk or cream and an exact amount of sugar, which was my, you know, my thought, but still.
I liked how there's some spy elements there where like he checks into the room and like he checks the phone for like it having a bug, and it definitely has one. So he requests to move to the bridal suite, which I think was bug 2.
It had more than just a bug in it. We come to find out later.
Oh yeah, because they could see through the one wall, right?
Yeah, and they recorded essentially a porno,
Oh
against their
yeah.
will.
Oh yeah, that yep, you're right. And then there's that underground lake thing they go through, which kind of had that Indiana Jones kind of feel to it. I think that might be the same kind of area from that Dan Brown book from Inferno, but not sure. But pretty similar. I'm sure a lot of the kind of northern Middle Eastern cities probably have that kind of stuff going on. So, although I think Istanbul sounds about right. Oh yeah, the belly dancing. So there's that whole scene where we see the belly dancers for quite a while, so they're featured prominently.
I mean, Bond movies would never prominently feature nice-looking women. That is something they have never done before.
And then I think it's our first action scene. It kind of had a Western kind of feel to it. I think there were some like wagons and stuff, and pretty decent action scene. But just kind of surprising that it had that, Western genre kind of feel to it. Am I crazy?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it definitely. I remember like they pulled out the MP5, like it just escalated like super quickly.
There's almost too much of the Bond theme. Like every time he's like driving around or something, it starts playing, which is great like the first 10 times, and then you're like, maybe you could tone it down with the Bond theme.
I mean, it did play the Bond. I remember thinking they were playing it a lot, even if it was just the real quick like couple of notes at the beginning. But yeah, it was just like they played it a lot. I'm with you on that.
And then what he like kind of turns his nose up to those women that are feuding, and he ends up getting his pick of both of them. So of course it works out in his favor.
I mean, James Bond, you might as well just call him James Butter because he is smooth as butter, baby.
Oh, a lot of good, solid Bond quips here. Like, I think one of my favorites. I think I laughed out loud when he's just like, she shouldn't have opened her mouth, because he caps that one guy that's climbing out of the wall.
The one I did not like was she definitely got her kicks in, or she whatever near the end, and I was like, get out. That one was bad. That one was real bad.
Oh, and then there's that part about we just alluded to about Bond shagging, and then they're checking it out and apparently taking a film of it too. Oh, and that's the part where does he send MI6 like the recording, or is it live? I think it's they're insinuating that it's like a live thing.
Oh,
right?
where they're on the boat and he's like talk into the camera.
Yeah, and he wants
like,
a little confession or something.
Yeah, I was taking that as that was like being transmitted through like a satellite or some secret spy tech or whatever the hell.
That makes sense, especially with their reaction where all the old men gathering around the speaker as she's just like, "Oh, Bond, I need your dick again now."
And he was just like, "Baby, later." He's like, "Shut the fuck up and answer my questions." And she's like, fuck me, James, fuck me over and over." And he's like, "Later." And Moneypenny's just like,
I'll go in the other room and still listen.
Yeah, they were like, "Get out." And so they obviously didn't say "fuck me" over and over again. This was not that kind of movie, but still.
And then the rats in the one cave, that was definitely Last Crusade kind of feel to it.
Why is it always rats?
Yep. Oh, snakes. Rats. Yeah.
Yes, it's always why is it snakes, but why is it always rats?
All right, go from the passageway to the train. Okay, yeah, so this is the train that I kind of thought the whole movie was, but it's only this one part, and it's pretty effective. Oh, Bond had some sexy. Oh, that's right, because they get they get in their cabin in the train, and he has like all this lingerie for her. I was just like, huh, I guess you packed for the occasion.
I mean, he knows what he's doing.
Some great.
I mean, if I was going to be locked in a car with.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was saying, if I knew I was going to be locked in that train car with a beautiful woman that was also going to have to pretend to be my wife. Like, I mean, I guess I'd be like, "Here, baby, have some lingerie."
I think that's probably what makes this one of the better Bond films, is because we have like a super spy as like the antagonist, like kind of hunting Bond. So I really like that dynamic. Takes itself seriously too, I think. Okay. Oh, that's right. So they're joined by the Spectre assassin to dinner, and he drugs the one girl's drink, which typically that leads to some pretty not so nice things. But yeah, they just needed her to take a little nap while they had some man talk, right?
Basically, and I like how Bond was just like, "Yeah, what'd you drug her with?" Like he knew. And then we had the thing that they made fun of in Austin Powers, where it's like, no matter how safe you think you are, how much you think the hero can't escape, you never divulge your whole plan. And sure enough, yeah, dude
caught me monologuing, you sly dog.
It's like, yeah, we're gonna do this and this and this and this. I mean, and the thing was so great. He knocked Bond out and had a gun to his head and then another gun to his chest. All of that could have been avoided. All he had to do was pull the trigger, but no, he had to gloat and run his mouth and.
Oh, do you want some of that gold over there in my briefcase? Oh yeah, gold sounds nice. Oh, so yeah, they get rid of him. Cool scene there, and then we get that cool field scene where like the helicopter's swooping around, chasing after him. Another Last Crusades kind of esque moment that it reminded me of.
Okay. I just thought it was funny that
because in Last Crusade the plane's flying around and he ends up getting it to crash by using the umbrella to get all the birds to fly up. It has a very similar feel in my opinion. Especially, I mean, Sean Connery in both instances.
I also I thought it was funny that he used it because I remember they said what kind of caliber for the sniper rifle, and obviously as the sniper rifle fit inside of a briefcase, it was a very small sniper rifle, but it still made the helicopter like explode.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of the ridiculous revolver Joker uses in that '89 Batman movie. Just
Okay,
this is an
but at
actual
least
rifle,
that,
thankfully.
but I'm pretty sure that revolver that he was using had a higher caliber than this sniper rifle.
Probably.
And
not off.
also it looked like that he could literally put that gun into the sky and touch the bat plane as he shot it. But yes, that gun is redonkulous, and just in a movie that's overly serious, that gun is overly silly.
All those great shots of Bond running through those hills, and then for the explosion, we go to that kind of ugly looking rear projection shot. Oh well, I guess you can't shoot it all live.
Not sometimes. Sometimes you can. You got to be safe, man. You got to be safe.
Let's see here. Oh, that's right. They board the boat, and like he's just like, "This isn't your day," and he just throws him overboard. He's ruthless. Let's see. Fake out henchman death. I don't even remember what that's referencing.
Yeah, I don't either.
Huh. Fake out henchman. Why don't you start talking and let me ponder this for a moment.
So next up, we're gonna the boat chase, which is crazy, and then they all of a sudden just swarm him, and they've got tons of fuel, and they're like shooting. They call them like rifle grenades, and it just look like rocket launchers and they're like, we're trying to get close and stop him, not sinking. I'm like, why the hell are you shooting at a boat with grenades and
weren't they shooting
guns?
them like way up in the air, like they were mortars or something?
Kind of. I mean, they looked like they were just like they were still shooting like explosives into the water, and I'm like, you're trying not to sink his boat, but you're shooting at him with explosives and guns. Like, this doesn't seem good.
And
so
just
they
letting
hit
all these barrels go everywhere, and they just somehow perfectly line up in a wall in front of all the boats.
Oh yeah, and then they all freaked out. They're like, watch where you're going and get all the gun ammunition off the boat. It's like, no, bitch, you get off the boat in the water. Like, you're toast. You're toast. The quarterback is toast.
Oh, that's funny. That's from Die Hard too. The quarterback is toast.
Yep.
Oh, wasn't there a shot where like a henchman's like on fire and like jumps out in the water or something?
I mean, yeah, I think one of them was like almost on fire, and he jumps out into the water and like into more fire.
Oh goodness.
But yeah, no, they that boat scene was a little bit over the top.
So after they find out that Bond escapes, like Blofeld's acting like he's gonna kill the lady, but he ends up killing the chess master guy, and he sends the lady back out to get Bond. That's what the fake out henchman death was.
Yeah. They kill him with this poison on a boot knife, and it was like 12 seconds, and he was like, I wish we could find a faster venom.
Cold-blooded.
I was like, it's already 12 seconds, guy. What the fuck else do you want? Instant. It's got to go in the bloodstream, guy.
And then you have the attempted assassination scene in the hotel room, just like in Austin Powers. Quite amusing to see the old Russian lady trying to use her little kicks to get at Bond. I thought that was quite amusing, but also entertaining.
And that Russian lady is very reminiscent of the woman like in Austin Powers. Like, they look very similar.
Yeah, the Scott's mom or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep, that didn't even come to mind, but yeah, you're spot on, I think, there. Let's see here. Typically get rid of that's okay. So yeah, typical James Bond ending where they make a big deal about throwing the film footage of them getting it on in that room, and they throw it overboard, and he does this very awkward like wave goodbye thing as then the credits started to roll. But gosh, this is I mean, there's silly moments. I mean, that's inherent with the nature of Bond, but yeah, this is such a solid Bond flick.
Yeah. I think actually talking about it, I appreciate it more because I was just in such a bad mood for the start of the movie.
Oh, no.
And like, I guess I kind of just missed over some stuff, and then so I, talking about it, and I was like, oh yeah, that was actually kind of cool, and it was cool to see this and this and this. So I'm glad we talked about it. Makes
Yeah,
me appreciate it a little bit more.
yeah. This I can definitely see why people would go with Sean Connery being their favorite Bond with what he does in this. And yeah, I need to watch through all these Bond films. I've seen a majority of them, but now that I'm on Letterboxd, I should be able to log them and actually be able to keep track of them a little bit. So 4 stars for me. I mean, it's no masterpiece, but it is a really, really solid movie that I think, really laid the groundwork for everything that would come, 20 odd films later. So
I gave it 3, but I actually think I'm gonna push it back to 3.5. Just because it's the same thing I gave Doctor No, but it feels like it's a little bit better than a 3 after we talked about it. So I'm gonna go give it a 3.5.
I remember seeing Doctor No more recently than this for the first time, and I remember Doctor No feeling very dated, and just how it kind of comes across. And there's that kind of cheesy tank at one point, or some kind of vehicle in Doctor No, right?
Yeah, but these are all like, even this one was cheesy. It's just not near as much. I'm looking forward. Carl got the box set for Christmas, so we're just gonna kind of go through them.
Nice.
Part of the reason I picked it anyway, so just to start going through the older Bond movies.
Yeah, man. All right. Right after the break, we'll see what Apple might have in store for their latest iPhone model. Coming up right now. Coming up after the break. And we are back. And yeah, Russia's waging war on Ukraine, and we did a movie called From Russia with Love and didn't mention that. But now we did. Next up, we got Robot and Frank, which came up on my Wheel of Destiny, which it's one of those kind of movies that I've always wanted to watch. I just never got around to. But let's learn a little bit more about it. It's from 2012, an American science fiction comedy drama directed by Jake Schreier. I don't know. It is set in the near future and focuses on Frank Wield, an aging jewel thief played by Frank Langella, whose son buys him a domestic robot. Resistant at first, Frank warms up to the robot when he realizes he can use it to restart his career as a cat burglar. That's definitely true, but I think there's a lot more to it than that. So how were you feeling on this one? Hopefully you weren't in a bad mood.
No, I actually enjoyed this movie.
Oh, good.
I wish that, we had, I would have known we were gonna have to delay, and I would have, waited a little bit longer to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely had its moments where it was cute. It definitely had other moments where you were kind of like, yo, what the fuck are you doing, man? Why are you being dumb? But it feels like it wanted to hit you with some of the feels from like The Father, which I have not seen, but both you and Carl and like everybody says it's great. And it wanted to hit you with what were those other vibes? Because I said it after we finished watching the movie, and now I don't remember. Oh shit.
Yep, it definitely gets into that mental health aspect. So yeah, The Father is an apt comparison. Yeah, there was something about. Oh, go ahead.
I can't remember what the other thing I compared it was, and I guess obviously it had something to do with like a robot companion of some sort.
Oh, her?
But yeah, that was it. It was her. Yeah. Because pulled at your heart.
So
But this movie did not rip my soul out like her did. Oh my god.
So yeah, there's just something about this cover that always I found so intriguing. I didn't know anything about it. Like I didn't even know like the whole thief aspect was coming up until it actually did in the movie. So that was a cool surprise. And I tell you, like, a lot of times I'll sit down to watch these podcast movies, and just because I know I'm going to be like talking about them and stuff, I'm maybe a little bit more like tensed up while I'm watching them. But man, this one went down like a tall glass of water. Kind of watched it in bed, watched at least an hour of it, and then it was like really late at night, so I finished the rest in the morning. And yeah, it was a really smooth watch. Enjoyed it quite a bit. 90
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah, it was definitely it definitely flew by, and I thought it was very like it was an easy watch for sure.
So right off from the beginning, we see how bad his dementia is because his house is like a total mess. He can't keep track of like when the milk expires. He's eating bad milk with his cereal, so he's in pretty bad shape. What a wild cast. We have Susan Sarandon, James Marsden. What the fuck is James Marsden doing in this movie? And then same goes for Liv Taylor. Just a wacky good cast.
Liv Tyler, not Liv Taylor. Before people come for us.
They haven't so far, so I guess I'll keep living dangerously and pronouncing everybody's name wrong.
I mean, shit happens.
Let's see. I like how we never actually know where Frank's mind is at any given moment. Like at any given moment, like he could be like doing some brilliant like burglary stuff, or be like totally like distracted and lost in his unfortunate illness. Did you get that? Did you kind of get that vibe?
Yeah, or something he would be focused on something, and if it didn't go the way he planned, it was like it would send him back.
Mm-hmm. Like there's that one time the phone rings and he just kind of it's like he doesn't even know how to hold the phone, and he gets like really distracted from it. So yeah, at any given moment it seemed like he could kind of lose where he's at, which is probably a big reason why he's been separated from his family, which we find out more about that coming up, especially with his crush on this crush on the librarian he has.
Oh yeah, which is Susan Sarandon. And I guess I could see that as an older. I mean, like she's a very attractive older lady, and he's an older gentleman, so that makes a lot of sense. And
great personality.
She was fantastic in this movie.
And so there's obviously with like a curmudgeon-y old guy like becoming friends with a robot, we obviously have this like modernization theme, and that plays into with like the fact that the library is getting rid of all their books and they're like going digital, and it's going to be more of a community place for I guess readers or something. So I was really appreciative of the fact that this movie had a lot of good themes and things to say, but I never felt like it never really hammered them in too hard. It would just kind of let them sit there and kind of resonate. And I kind of appreciated how this movie didn't let like what it was going for like get in the way of just having a real smooth movie. Just how I kind of described early on.
Yeah, and I also one of the things I liked was you saw like the difference between James Marsden, which is his son, and Liv Tyler, which is his daughter, where he's the one who brings Frank the robot to be like his caregiver, and she's like, oh no, that goes against what I believe, blah blah blah, or thinks that they're bad or something like that, and so they just have this completely differing of opinion, and it kind of seems to be thought of, you kind of see a little bit that's kind of how the community is, that it's kind of split on these robot relations. I don't know if that's the right turn of phrase, but it just kind of parallels to how everything, especially in our country, splits everybody one way or the other. So
yeah, and she seems real noble at first because it looks like she's like in Afghanistan or something, like helping like orphans or something. But then we actually meet her, and she's quite self-absorbed. I found.
Yeah, she was in like what, Turkmenistan or something, I think is what it was.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, but I mean the movie is very technology forward. Like, she's talking on the TV, and he's answering the phone by voice, and then the phones they do have are like these clear, like look like they're off of Star Trek or something kind of phones. So I don't think they ever say what year it is, but it definitely is
in near future.
Technology. Yeah, technologically forward.
Yeah. And he can never keep his the fact that Harry's his former or his favorite restaurant had closed up, and that's like something that always kind of comes up. Like whenever he needs like an escape, he's always like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to Harry's or whatever." Like it used to be like his like maybe that was his bar back in the day.
Yeah, probably like his bar where he knew the people and could always, get his food or whatever.
Where everybody knows your name, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Oh yeah, he appears to be a klepto because he keeps going into that doggone Bed Bath and Beyond or whatever and stealing the soaps, and the ladies.
Well, I guess it's like a local Bed Bath and Beyond, but
Yeah.
it's what replaced Harry's. And you saw earlier that he had opened like his safe and he had like these wads of cash and these random little things in there. Come to find out, that's why he kept stealing from the shop there.
Yes. Oh, so you think that the fact that he just steals this random stuff is to kind of like just ease his like klepto urges because by nature he is a burglar?
I mean, it could be, yeah, just see if I still got it, or it could even be not to ease his urge, but if he's into his dementia, he could be thinking he's younger, and it's that danger. Can I get away with it?
Mm-hmm.
And he's actually going through the stages of what led him to becoming a burglar in the first place, and then you see him leading him back towards being a burglar again in his old age. So maybe some like paralleling there.
You can kind of see why his son is more aggressive, like whenever he finally gets there, because he's like very critical on his son. Like when he picks him up whenever he's like kind of walking in the middle of the road, and he's like harasses him about his kid's toy that's there. He's like, "Why are you spoiling him with all this junk and stuff?" And he just really, like, for the most part, he seems so chill. But then whenever he's talking to his son, he's like really like hard on him for some reason. Which
But I mean, especially, a lot of the older generation, like even the older generation to you and I, they're like, well, we didn't grow up with all this stuff and we're fine. And it's like, well, but you didn't have this stuff. You didn't have the things that we have now. And aren't we supposed to grow up and do more and have better and all of that kind of jazz? So, point. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I kind of think that is a good representation of, like boomers and Gen Xers to millennials and Gen Zers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I remember when my dad was first like, "Oh, I'm never going to be texting," and now he texts just fine. So it takes one to know one. I think that phrase goes pretty far in this in society, where you just need it in your hand and play with it, and you eventually figure it out. So yeah, that's, now that I think about it, yeah, the fact that he's bitching about the kid's toy, definitely parallels the fact that he's about to get his own toy that he's not going to be happy about with the robot. I found it interesting how bulky the design was, despite how it's more of a, it's a domestic servant, so it's like just kind of barely moving its arms and talking. So the fact that it's so bulky and kind of retro, it was an interesting choice.
I liked it, and then I liked seeing like it talk to the librarian robot, and you knew its model and stuff. Yeah, and it kind of gave me Futurama vibes, where they had all the different styles and classes of robots that had different jobs and did stuff, and some looked more humanoid and others looked square and that kind of stuff. And it kind of gave me that kind of vibe.
It was kind of a reverse Star Wars, because I remember in Star Wars, like C-3PO would just be kind of like having random conversations with droids, where in this they show that the droids' only purpose is to keep their humans happy. They have no ability to really converse with each other that much, or it's very limited.
Yeah, and they're at like the party, and he's like, "Hey, y'all interact. We're gonna go fool around or whatever they were gonna do." And they're like, why would we talk to each other? That's not our job."
And it almost looked like an astronaut helmet on him. So definitely a futuristic vibe, but I thought it was a cool look. Definitely stands out.
I mean, yeah, definitely. Now that you said it, I guess I didn't think about that, but it really does look like an astronaut's helmet.
I thought it was interesting how, so Frank is he's a human. He knows how to take care of himself, but, his mind's going, and really it's this robot that starts taking care of self for him. So it's interesting to see this lifeless object actually take more care of life than the actual human is. So just a little story quirk there with, all the characters.
Yeah.
He definitely does not want to do any gardening, though.
No gardening.
But digging in the dirt does come in handy later.
Yeah, it does come in. It does come in handy, and I got a little bit of town vibes there at the end, but we'll get to that.
Some things just take time, Frank, is a quote I put down there. Because, man, this robot's coming out with some pretty exquisite culinary cuisine, especially compared to whenever his daughter starts cooking. God, that was awful.
Oh, yeah, where he was like, I want pasta or something.
He wants lasagna, and she throws, some overcooked penne in, a styrofoam bowl with some, really, really generic tomato sauce on the top. She's like, ugh.
And she was like, it took me an hour to make this. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Did you jar the sauce yourself?
Did you jar it?
Did you go, are you counting the time it took you to go to the store?
Yeah. So this plays off of that last point about how the robot takes care of him. I think they actually have a conversation where he's like, well, if you die from eating cheeseburgers, I've failed my programming. So I'm going to do my best to take care of you. So.
Cheeseburgers.
And then it's interesting how they dive into the morality code. So much of this stuff is just, it could be done in so much more of an obvious way, but it's just underplayed and it just flows so nicely. This whole morality question that comes into play where it's just well, I don't really have morality. I'm here to, make sure you're healthy and happy. So yeah, he does whatever he's told and he's not even told. He just knows, and he ends up stealing the bar of soap for Frank at the little shop.
Yeah, and then that's where they got into the conversation about his programming and all of that. So yeah, no, that was very interesting. And then to see, you at that point, kind of where it's going to go, but to see that, to see it start there and I was going to say blossom, but I guess balloon is a better word. Balloon out of control.
Yep, start stacking towards that climax. So we meet the new library guy, which I have a joke about what he does in a second here. So yeah, he's a big prick. It's kind of funny how he backhanded insults Frank by how he's the older generation. He's like, oh, I want to get your perspective on the older generation. He's just like, you little fucker, you got away from me. And that works perfectly with the Don Quixote being the book, because it's about a forgetful old man. So that fits perfectly with Frank as he's going a little nuts. Teaches the robot to pick locks, and kind of a fun moment there where we find out that he could never bring himself to teach his own son, but the robot he trusts enough to teach his trade to.
I thought it was interesting that that Don Quixote was it was too old, and they weren't going to scan that one in, and that one was going to be left. And it's just, and then so it's an old man stealing an old book for an old woman kind of thing, but still also how men will do dumb shit for women no matter at 12 or 13, 23 or 33 or 63. We just do dumb shit. So I think the library experience we kind of touched on a little bit earlier, but they're scanning all the books, so now it's basically kind of like the hipsters, it's cool to go to the library again, but they still want to do everything digitally, and so they're scanning all the books, which is kind of strange that they're scanning all the books because so many books are already on digital now, between Kindle and just everything. But I mean, it made sense. They're trying to save. Maybe some of those weren't on media yet, but I guess they're scanning them for that software, whatever they're going to use in the library. But I guess it's going to be like the hipster hotspot kind of thing.
And so that's what they're going for. And then, so then fast forwarding a bit, well, kind of brings us back to what we were talking about with the Don Quixote book. So they're stealing that, and he's so forgetful that he starts getting confused and kind kind of babbling out loud, and while during the robbery, and so the robot's like, "Hey, I thought we are supposed to be quiet." So yeah, it's always interesting to see when Frank's not gonna come a little unhinged, even in his most careful moments.
And during that scene, he leaves his glasses at the robbery.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Yeah, that's why when um new librarian owner prick guy, he's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Hey man, do you wear reading glasses?"
That's right.
You know,
Yeah, but he suspects somebody can't really prove. Well, I guess he probably could have proved it in that moment, but it just never comes together for him. Makes Frank uncomfortable to talk about the robot not actually being human because he's starting to see the robot like that. Even though I don't think he ever names him, does he?
no, they never name him. He's just robot. I guess his name is Robot, but
Tells Susan Sarandon to go home whenever she bought him pie. How dare he?
right. I mean, she was going to bring him all kinds of pie.
Oh,
You watch that scene then, and you're just like, I mean, she obviously knows what's going on, but she's upset and leaves. But something that we'll get to in a little bit, which is kind of like the twist of the movie.
yeah.
It makes it even like more heartbreaking, I guess, that scene that that maybe that she like should have tried to go in. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Some great character building because it's kind of a slow build up to that main robbery as they're like scouting out the house. And it's funny because Frank's noticing different patterns and the robot admits that he wasn't seeing. So it's a really cool dynamic seeing them kind of work together. We got into the daughter stuff so early. Some of my notes here are void, so let me jump over this stuff about her.
Well, we didn't talk about where she cleans the house and
All right.
he's like, "You use the robot," and she, at first she denies it. And to me it came across of not necessarily self-absorbed, but she wanted to be like I can do this. I did it. See, we don't need the robots. And then it was, well, yeah, I used the robot to help. But I guess maybe that's supposed to be, well, the robots are just they're second class. They're not human, so they don't matter. And especially in this country, people who have helped clean inside of a house are definitely seen as less by a lot of people throughout our history in America. So that could definitely, I don't know if that was supposed to be a parallel, but it definitely, I think, could be. Or
It definitely works. Yeah, I agree. The thing I was kind of getting from it was like she's like, oh, we need to be doing this for ourselves. Like I guess she's trying to make him more self-dependent is probably what she's going for. But yeah, this robot definitely means well.
I mean, it's hard to do that when he's going through that dementia, and the robot, for the most part, seems like he's helping him. Like, he seems to go less and less into the dementia. Like, obviously, it's not stopping it because it's not treatment, but it definitely seems to be helping.
And there's definitely this tense moment where like Frank is kind of freaking out that he doesn't have his robot buddy to plan this heist with anymore. But that's not, I mean, there's a tension there, but it's not like in your face. Just another great example of how each beat of this thing is so is placed very smoothly, I guess is the word I'll keep going to. But pretty badass to see the robot crack that safe by doing all the calculations or whatever within however long it took him.
Not very long.
Wouldn't take him 2 hours, I think they said.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought it was interesting how burning the evidence seems so natural to Frank because, like as soon as he figures out that they're kind of onto him, he's like burning all those plans. But the idea of like wiping this robot's memory is like completely like devastating to him.
Oh, that and putting the jewelry like in I thought it was a condom, but maybe it was a balloon. I guess kind of the same idea. I guess to protect it, which we come to find out later. I mean, yeah. So, but do you see when Liv leaves, he gives her these earrings, and he's like, "Go and sell them." When you get far away at a pawn shop, and she's like, "I know the deal." So like, it seems like she's definitely helped him, or at least been in the know more, maybe so than the son.
That was a great fake out whenever he hands the son the bag of and throws it in his car, and they've obviously staked out his house, so they stop him and they check out the bag, and it was just a bunch of old soap, and then off flies Frank with Robot, and they're making their own escape. Which is this the part where you want to talk about the town?
Well, no, it's where they at the very end where he like leaves a note for the kids and tells them to like look under the garden.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you've seen the town,
A long time.
Ben Affleck's character, is it Michelle Monaghan, Bridget Monaghan? Anyway, his squeeze, he tells his squeeze like he leaves the bag full of money like in her garden, and with a note or whatever, and of course she uses it to build like to get the rec center back opened, and names it after his mom and all that kind of stuff. So
As much as they talk about like scanning the robot's memory in order to like figure out like what the robot knows, it never really seems like something like that they're about to do. Like the movie never convinced me that they even knew how to do that.
yeah, I don't think they knew how, but it definitely seemed like it was something
That could happen.
yeah, because I think they got close to the robot, and that's when he initiated the countdown sequence, and everybody ran away. Even though he didn't have a countdown sequence, but they were like, "Shit, we can't risk it." Which just
Oh right, because the self-destruct joke. Gotcha.
yeah, yeah. And then he does end up wiping his memory, and he's like, "Oh, I knew you had an off button," and it's just like, "Oh, okay, this had to be done, but it sucks."
It wasn't too melodramatic. It was what it needed to be. Then we finally find out that the librarian was his ex-wife, and those are their kids and stuff. And it seems like they've come together a little bit better there by the end. There's a real artsy moment where like they're all sitting there at the table, like in the woods or like having a picnic or something, and it just had this real artsy feel to it. I'm glad that what I mean. I think the story was put together in a really clever way, but it was never being on its shoulder artsy. But that part stood out a little bit more, but in a nice way.
Yeah, I could see that.
So he accepts living in like the assisted living now. He kind of goes to and from, but he does see that a lot of the other residents have robots, and he just kind of scoffs at them. So I'm not really sure I understand, like, I guess if it wasn't going to be his robot, he wasn't going to have a robot anymore. But I wonder why. I mean, he probably would have been able to power back on, but I guess at that point he just feel like he didn't need it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's hard to say.
It just kind of, the end, it's a little ambiguous to why he decides that he can, he's moved on, but he has. I mean, that's what the movie shows you. So, I would go with a 4 on this one, maybe 4.5. Kind of still deciding, but I really appreciate what it did. It didn't blow me away, but gosh, it was such a smooth watch with a lot of smart stuff in it. So I really liked Robot and Frank.
I enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.5. I definitely I thought it was good for sure. Definitely think that if you haven't seen it, I didn't know, a lot of people probably haven't even heard of it, that like definitely should go check it out. I mean, it's going to give you a little bit of emotion. It's going to give you, especially if you've dealt with anybody with those kind of dementia problems, you're going to get those feelings. I don't think it's, as for my understanding, as tough on the feelings as I think it's Father. But I mean, you also, some other movies that kind of dealt with that was the Matt Reeves Planet of the Apes movies. That's the whole reason that their Planet of the Apes movies even existed. You can go back to something like The Notebook, where grown up Allie has Alzheimer's or dementia, and Noah reads her their story of their whole lifetime, and to get her back even for just a few minutes. So I mean, it's definitely been touched on in some movies before. But this one I think does give it a little bit of twist, adding the technology and that companionship of a non-sentient being.
Well said. Cool. So what are we doing next?
No, what are we doing next? What you got for me?
I own this movie that we're gonna watch, so I was gonna try to figure out the best way to drop it on you. Any guesses?
I mean, there are some big ones that come to mind, but I think also I think to each of us it might be a little bit different. Like, I mean, I think Clueless would be like the big obvious choice. It's kind of one of the just big iconic '90s movies. But see, to me, I don't know what personifies the '90s to you, so it's hard to say. I mean, you could have picked like Titanic, or you could have went, even though we've done stuff like Fight Club, you could have went Fight Club or Seven, Matrix. Like, there's just so many big movies, and the '90s was such a whirlwind time of technology advances, the music, the fashion. So like, I mean, even something it's the movie is about a record company. It's got Liv Tyler in it, and they sing all this different music and stuff. Empire Records, like, that's very stereotypical '90s Romeo and Juliet. Like, so I'm just why I've been very interested to see where you're going to go with this.
All right, let's see if this works out the way I want it to.
So one of the most common new
of course I'm going to get the ad about the guy talking about his toxic poop. Okay.
Fat-burning supplement Zuburn.
I love you, honey bunny.
Everybody be cool, this is a robbery!
Any of you fucking pricks move! And I'll execute every motherfucking last one of you!
Boy, howdy.
You want to talk about Pulp Fiction?
Yes. Yes, I do.
I thought you might.
Baby.
Pretty sweet, huh?
Indeed.
Yeah, I actually just finished this CNN special about like movie history, and I just finished the '90s, and so I saw a lot of the big bangers throughout that series. But yeah, I thought Pulp Fiction had that '90s feel that I wanted to get into. It's one of the classics of the decade.
So I mean, it's got
killer cast, killer director.
It's got a killer cast. It's got the killer soundtrack, the killer director. It's got all, it starts with the '90s where people were starting to maybe talk about taboo stuff a little bit more with drugs. You've got, the homosexual stuff, and there's all the stuff that was, kind of more taboo, and the '90s kind of starts breaking away some of those stereotypes. So yeah, I think this is perfect. I also watched it might have been like Watch Mojo or something. I don't know. It was some stupid top 10 list or top 10 list of movies from the '90s, and that list had this at number one.
Nice.
So I think that's very, very appropriate. All right, let's see what else we're gonna join with it.
Yeah, Wheel of Destiny time. Boop 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 boop.
It is the Wheel of Destiny time. All right. Man, if it had only been 25, we could have had the double Tarantino combo. But didn't quite get there. So it's number 20, and my number 20 is from what year is this? 2005.
Okay.
Also a very musical movie. It's got Terrence Howard, Anthony Anderson, Taryn Manning, Taraji P. Henson.
Is that Hustle and Flow?
It is Hustle and Flow.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen
that's
it.
in college. Okay.
I've never seen it. So and did Terrence Howard win for this movie, or at least get nominated or something, right?
It won Best Song, I believe, but I think
yeah, that sounds right. So
cool.
That ought to be pretty bangerific.
And for your category for next time, let's watch a favorite movie of yours that I haven't seen.
A favorite movie of mine that you haven't seen. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I will see what I can make happen. I feel like you've seen probably all of my favorite movies, but we'll see what I can come up with.
We've gone through like, hey, let's pick random art films here for a long time, so maybe it's about time to get into our bread and butter for a while.
I mean, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm gonna have to think about it and do some deep diving on your letterbox there, but I'm okay with that.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us. And if you have a question, we'd love to hear about it. How do they do it, Joey?
There's a couple different ways now. So you obviously can go right down below and leave us a comment here on this video.
Come on, girl.
Yeah. Yep. You can leave us a
Lord,
video
I apologize.
below. You can also go to our Facebook page and click the button, and it'll help you send us an email. Or if you don't want to go to our Facebook page, you can go straight to the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast at gmail.com.
You love that Facebook button. You love it.
Or, well, I just want people to know how easy it is. Or if, you're younger and you're like, who the fuck has Facebook? That's for old people. And we resent you for that because we're not old. But if you want to use Twitter, we do have that too. And that is at the AJMCC. Definitely would like some more followers. I did a poll up on there for my spinoff podcast. And maybe we'll do some more polls and stuff. Maybe you can reach out directly through there to us as well. And of course, both of us have letterboxes, which we have talked about ad nauseum on here. So, leave us comments there. We love hearing from you. We want questions, comments, concerns, all that kind of stuff.
So, Joey, why do we do the show?
Because we love talking about movies.
Good night, everyone, and we'll see you for Pulp Fiction and Hustle and Flow next time.
Hell yes.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
Non mi piace il feeling. Spirito Santo.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.